Hello, grade 11s. It's Miss Johnston with your final literacy preparation session before you guys write the test. The final test that we're going to be talking about is the long writing task, your series of paragraphs. So as a reminder, your prompt's going to look like this, what I have on the screen. So it's going to say, write an essay expressing an opinion on the following topic. Now this is not going to be your topic here. This is just a sample topic. I'm not too sure what your actual topic is going to be. It's going to be a big surprise on test day. So the sample topic that I have here is, do people depend too much on technology? So this was a prompt from an old test, so I can almost guarantee that this will not be your prompt because it's been used already. I'm just using this as an example. So underneath your prompt, it's going to say, be sure to include the following: an introduction, supporting body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Relevant reasons, examples, and facts to support your opinion, and a clear explanation of your arguments. Okay, it says type your response in the box below, approximately 500 words. To expand the text box, hover over the bottom right corner and drag the arrow down. So like I showed you on my last video, if you guys take the corner here, you guys can drag it down to expand the size of the box so that you can see everything that you're writing. I've told you guys as well that there's going to be a word count. So if you see underneath the box here, it says number of remaining words 500. So as you type, that number is going to decrease until you hit 0. Once you hit 0, I've now been told that you actually get an extra 10 words. So your limit's actually 510. And then whatever you type will no longer appear on the screen. So let's just go over a few tips to keep in mind when you're doing this task. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is make sure that you read the prompt carefully. Okay, once you read it, it's going to be an opinion that you're going to form. So you're either going to agree with the statement, yes, or you're going to disagree with it, no. If you really don't have an opinion on the subject, I suggest that you just make it up. So remember that the markers do not know who you are, they do not know your opinion, so if you make it up, they're actually not going to know. Just take note that you cannot write about both sides, so don't say that you agree and you disagree with it and you have mixed opinions. Make sure that it's either you fully agree or you fully disagree. I'm going to remind you guys that your audience is an adult who cares about your opinion. This means that you want to use appropriate language, so don't write as though you're texting your friends. Okay, make sure that you are using formal language. And also take note that your work is going to be marked as a first draft. Okay, it's kind of like your rough copy. So the people that are marking the test know that you haven't had the opportunity to go over it, you haven't done many revisions, you haven't gotten any feedback on it. So they do take that into account when they are marking it. So you're probably wondering how your answer should look like when you're writing it out. So just take note that it's going to have 5 clearly defined paragraphs. So responses with fewer than 5 are going to lead to a low score. So paragraph 1 is going to be your introduction. You're going to be stating your side very clearly. So you're either going to agree or disagree with the statement. You're then going to list your 3 reasons that you're going to be expanding on in your body paragraphs. Okay, your middle ones, okay, are going to be your 3 points. So you're going to be expanding on each point in the order that you listed them in your introduction. So make sure that they follow the same order that you listed them in. You're going to provide examples and details in the form of arguments that are going to lengthen your writing. I'm going to show you guys an example coming up of what your final product should look like. And then your final one is going to be your conclusion. Don't forget to restate your opinion. You're going to restate the 3 reasons that you listed in your introduction that you just finished talking about. And then I also want you to make a final statement about your argument. So let's move on to some reminders. You are limited to 500 words. There is going to be that word countdown on your screen, and as I mentioned before, they are going to give you a buffer of 10 extra words. So you will be getting that also on your short answer. So instead of a 100 word limit, you're actually going to have a 110 word limit for the short answer, meaning that your long answer, instead of the 500 word limit, it's going to be 510. So you'll just get a warning if you hit that 500 word limit that you have 10 words remaining. Please be sure to indent at the beginning of each new paragraph to show 5 separate sections when you are looking at your final copy. If the tab button does not work when you're typing, what you guys can do to indent is just hit the spacebar 5 times. Please make sure that you guys are writing in full sentences using correct grammar, spelling, and punctuation. Please use transition words and phrases throughout your series of paragraphs. So examples of transition words are first of all, secondly, lastly, in conclusion. Okay, so you guys should be starting each one of your paragraphs except for your first one with the transition word. Remember that your audience is an adult who is interested in hearing your opinion, and also a final reminder that your product is being marked as a first draft. Here are 5 steps that you can follow when you're writing out this task. So step 1, read the question prompt. Okay, so if you don't read the prompt and you just start writing about something random, you're going to be off topic. Okay, and an off topic response will not pass. Step 2, brainstorm. So once you've read the prompt, I would brainstorm an idea list on reasons why you agree with the statement and reasons why you disagree with the statement. So please remember that on the computer, one of the options that you guys have is to open up a Rough Notes tab where you can type out your ideas. Now, if you prefer to write out your ideas in rough by hand, there will be paper available for you to use as well as pencils. So you will have the option to either do a rough draft and brainstorm on paper or using the Rough Notes. Step 3, once you've done your brainstorm, you're going to want to pick a side. So look at your brainstorm, look at your agree column and your disagree column and see which one you have more points on. The one that you have the most points on is probably going to be the opinion that you have. So once you decide if you're going to agree or disagree, you're then going to want to choose your 3 reasons. So look at your brainstorm list and maybe put a star or highlight the 3 reasons that you want to expand on when you are explaining your support. Step 4, plan out what you're going to write for each point. Okay, so you guys should create a plan instead of just starting to write. If you just start to write without a plan, chances are you're going to start rambling and maybe even get off topic. So by creating a plan, you're going to have a layout or a map that you're going to use when you're doing your final draft, and it's going to be so much easier to write. So once again, you're going to be able to plan either using pencil and paper or the Rough Notes tab and type it out on your screen. And then the final step after you have your plan is to actually type out your answer. Okay, and remember when you're typing and you get to your 500 words, you are going to get your warning that you have 10 words left. So let's walk through an example of these 5 steps. So I'm going to look at my prompt first. So in this case, my prompt is, do teenagers place too much importance on what they wear? So I've read my prompt, now I need to brainstorm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a list of reasons why I agree with it and reasons why I disagree with it. So I've brainstormed a couple of reasons here and my list is on the screen. You guys also have it in your handout. Looking at my brainstorm list, I definitely had more points in my yes column. Therefore, I do feel like my opinion is that I agree that teenagers place too much importance on what they wear. So I've looked at my idea list. Next, what I need to do is I need to choose the 3 reasons that I'm going to use to support my opinion. So here's my list again. What I've done is I've highlighted and starred 3 of the points that I feel I can best expand on and that are going to make some good body paragraphs. So the 3 that I've chosen here are spend too much money, take too long to get ready, and might feel ugly if not in the right clothes. So I just want to note here as well that the example that I'm going through right now, this is not my personal opinion. This is just a sample that was given from EQAO. So I've now read the prompt, I've done some brainstorming, and I've chosen my 3 different ideas that I'm going to be expanding on. So you can see number 1, number 2, and number 3. So what I'm doing with each one of these points is I'm now going to plan out what I'm going to be writing about. So for teenagers spend too much money on clothes, some points that I can expand on, I have want to look their best and don't care about cost, can easily spend $200 on just a few items, and appearance isn't everything. So for point 2, I can expand on teenagers take too long to get ready with some more facts. So if you keep buying more clothes, you keep adding to your options in the morning. This causes you not to make up your mind. And some people can't leave the house without the perfect outfit. And then point number 3, I have teenagers feel ugly if they don't have brand name clothing. So to expand on this, they don't care about the cost, they care about the label. Can buy the exact same shirt without the label for a lot less, and takes a toll on self-esteem if you don't have the right clothing. Okay, so here's just some points that the student was making before they wrote their final draft. So now that I've done my planning and I know what I want to write about, I'm now ready to start writing. So here's what your final product could look like. Teenagers have always been called out for many things they care too much about. In my opinion, teenagers do place too much importance on what they wear. They spend way too much money, take too long to get ready, and feel ugly if they don't have name brand clothing. First of all, teenagers spend way too much money on clothes. They are so obsessed with looking their best that sometimes they forget about expenses. A single shopping trip with only buying a couple of pairs of pants, shirts, and maybe a sweater can cost over $200. That is ridiculous. Teenagers should realize appearance is not everything and they should save their money for something else. Secondly, teenagers take too long to get ready. Teenagers who feel the need to have everything new accumulate way too much clothing, leaving them with an insane amount of options. This often makes them take a very long time to get ready. Teenagers who buy clothing a lot are very used to taking a long time to pick the perfect outfit. Finally, teenagers feel ugly if they don't have name brand clothing. Teens will spend $100 on a single pair of pants just to buy the label, when in reality they can get the same material and quality of pants somewhere else for $20. Without having this clothing, teenagers feel below others, so it takes a toll on self-esteem. Teenagers feel weird or out of place if they don't fit in with everyone around them. In conclusion, teenagers clearly place too much importance on what they wear. They spend too much money, take a long time to get ready, and feel ugly if they don't have name brand clothing. They have to start seeing themselves as beautiful people without worrying about what they are wearing. So there's an example of your 5 paragraphs, and I noted at the bottom that the word count is 300 words. So even though you have your 500 word limit, just remember that you do not have to use your 500 words in order to get a good mark. So let's take a look at this final product as a whole. So I now have it all on one screen. You guys also have it on your paper. So the first thing that I'm going to notice is the organization. So you can clearly see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate paragraphs. So this is why it's really important that you guys are putting an indent. For those of you who don't know what that is, it just means that you see how there's about 5 spaces before the writing starts at the beginning of each separate part. That just means that it's indented. So because that's happening, and there's also a little space between each one, you can clearly see that there's 5 different parts to what's being written. Something else that I'm noticing for the organization is we have our transition words. So I see first of all, I see secondly, finally, and in conclusion. Okay, so what the markers are doing is they're going to be looking that you have some clear organization in your writing. Another thing that I notice with the organization is that each one of my middle paragraphs has a topic sentence. So I have, first of all, teenagers spend way too much money on clothes. So they're taking that from the first point in the introduction. Okay, I have, secondly, teenagers take too long to get ready. So we're getting that from our second point in the introduction. Okay, and then finally, teenagers feel ugly if they don't have brand name clothing. So I'm getting my third point as my third point from my introduction. Okay, so it's following the same order that they appear in the introduction. So talking about the introduction, there's two key things that are in here that makes this a good response. So one of the things is that you're stating your opinion. So in my opinion, teenagers do place too much importance on what they wear. And you're also laying out the map for your reader and stating the three things that you're going to be talking about. Now, when it comes to the development of ideas, so paragraphs 2, 3, and 4, what they're also doing is they're using very specific examples. So the markers are looking that you're not using generic statements. So for example, they're stating a single shopping trip with only buying a couple of pairs of pants, shirts, and maybe a sweater can cost over $200. So they're being very specific. They're naming specific pieces of clothing, and they actually also mention a specific cost. So this sentence here is much better than saying clothing costs a lot of money. That's a generic statement. What they've done is they've said a couple pairs of pants, shirts, and maybe a sweater can cost over $200. So when you're giving your examples and your proof, please make sure that you're giving very specific details. So once again, do not be generic, be specific. So this example that I just showed you is a standard response. So what that would get you would be the equivalent of a level 3. Okay, so let's say you want to improve on that. What can you do? Okay, so two of the things that you can do to improve your mark would be to expand on your introduction and your conclusion. So I'm just going to go through some examples from EQAO that show poor introduction, a good introduction, and a great introduction, as well as a conclusion with the same levels, just so that you can see the difference between them. So I'm going to start off with a poor introduction. So if this is all that you have written for your introduction, you won't get a good mark. So this just states your opinion. So yes, I do think teenagers place too much importance on what they wear. So first of all, take note that this is only 13 words. So you have your maximum of 500 words. So this is just about 2.5%, okay, of your 500 words. So that's not a lot of writing. So take note here, there's no development. You're not stating your three reasons, and you're not even indenting to show that you're starting a new paragraph. So these are three key things that are missing. So we'll look next at the good introduction. This is from the sample that we just looked at. So teenagers have always been called out for many things they care too much about. In my opinion, teenagers do place too much importance on what they wear. They spend way too much money, take too long to get ready, and feel ugly if they don't have name brand clothing. So already we can see that the word count is higher. We've gone up to 49 words. So what's good about this example is it starts off with a hook sentence. So even before they start their opinion, this is their hook sentence. Okay, so they're trying to get the reader prepared, okay, for what they're going to be talking about. So that's something that's good that's been added. Another thing that's good is we are stating our opinion. So we have, in my opinion, teenagers do place too much importance on what they wear. Okay, you're listing your three supporting reasons. So they spend way too much money, they take too long to get ready, and feel ugly if they don't have brand name clothing. So you've listed your three reasons, and they're also in the order that they're going to be appearing when you're writing about them. And we also see up here that the indent is here so that you're clearly stating that you're starting a new paragraph. So let's move on to a great introduction. So what I noticed first of all is there's definitely a lot more words. So let's look at this one here. One of the most difficult stages in life is being a teenager. Everyone experiences it and everyone learns from it. Teenagers are at a stage where they believe they know everything. They don't have a place to fit in as they feel they are more mature than kids, but they are not old enough or responsible enough to be an adult. Teenagers are easily influenced and look to others for advice. One factor that affects a teenager is clothing. Teenagers tend to place too much importance on what they wear, as they feel their clothes indicate their status, reflect their attempts to imitate celebrities, and express their style. So right away we have a word count of 108 words. Okay, So that's about a fifth of your total. So if each one of your paragraphs is about this length, then that'll bring you to your 500 word limit. So let's look at what's good in here. So the first point they have here is that it sets up a context for the statement of opinion. So it doesn't give the opinion right away. So if you actually look, the opinion doesn't appear until here. So teenagers tend to place too much importance on what they wear. So all the things previous to that is setting the reader up, okay, to what their topic is going to be. Okay, they still do a good job. They list their 3 reasons. So we have on what they wear as they feel their clothes indicate their status. There's point 1. Reflect their attempts to imitate celebrities, point 2, and express their style, point 3. What else do we have on here? Oh yes, and then they also remembered to indent, so we can tell that it's a new paragraph. So now let's look at our conclusions. So we'll start with the poor conclusion. It's just one simple sentence, and it just says, in my opinion, teens care way too much about their clothing. So that's a simple 11 words. Okay, there's no development of ideas. It's not restating your 3 supporting reasons. Once again, there's no indentation to indicate a new paragraph. And there's no transition. So you're not even stating that it's your conclusion. So remember your final one, you should say something like in conclusion or in summary, just to indicate that your conclusion is coming. So let's review the good conclusion. So as a reminder, this is the one that we saw from the sample. So this one says, in conclusion, teenagers clearly place too much importance on what they wear. They spend too much money, take a long time to get ready, and feel ugly if they don't have name brand clothing. They have to start seeing themselves as beautiful people without worrying about what they are wearing. So here we have a 50-word conclusion. So take note that it does use a transition. So it does start here with in conclusion. It restates the opinion. So teenagers clearly place too much importance on what they wear. It restates the 3 supporting reasons. So they spend too much money, reason 1. They take a long time to get ready, reason 2. And feel ugly if they don't have name brand clothing, reason 3. But notice that it just doesn't end with that. They've also included a final statement. So this kind of sums everything up. So they have to start seeing themselves as beautiful people without worrying about what they are wearing. Okay, so something like this is considered a level 3 conclusion. So let's look now at the great conclusion, or a level 4 response. So this one here says, in conclusion, teenagers want to fit in, and they feel they can only do that if they dress alike. Styles of clothing worn by celebrities are marked up in price as the demand is high. When teenagers wear expensive or brand name clothing, they get attention, a lot of attention. This attention indicates their status and also popularity, two aspects of a teenager's life that they value greatly. The media puts a lot of pressure on teenagers, and they react by simply trying to imitate celebrities, people who are adored by society. So this one here comes in at 94 words. What I notice about their great examples is each one of the paragraphs are slightly around 100 words each. So 100 times the 5 brings you to your 500 word limit. So I find that if you're expanding on your ideas, you're probably going to reach that 500 words a lot quicker. So this one here uses a transition. So once again, they use in conclusion. They're still restating their opinion. But not only are they restating their 3 supporting reasons, they're not just listing them, but if you notice, they expand on them as well. So they've given a little summary of each one of their reasons in their conclusion. So that brings us to the end of our final presentation before you guys write your test. So some of you guys will be starting to write the test actually next week on November 1st. So please make sure that you guys do review the schedule that got handed out. Also check EDSB. I also messaged all of the grade 11 students with all of the previous lessons that we've done, as well as a schedule of the test writing dates. So if you do not know when you are writing the test, please send Miss Johnston a message through EDSB or let your teacher know and they can contact me. So I'm just going to leave you guys with a couple sample prompts to try for practice. So these are prompts that appeared on past tests. So there are 4 of them. So is it fair for schools to restrict the kinds of foods students can bring in their lunches? Is participation in extracurricular activities an important part of secondary school life? Are cell phones necessary in teenagers' lives? And should high school students have a part-time job? So what I suggest you guys do, you guys don't have to answer all 4 of these, but if you guys choose at least one of them and go through those 5 steps that I went through in this video and that you guys have on your handout, and then you guys can do a practice so that when you guys come to write this task on the actual literacy test, you guys would have done it at least once all the way through so that you guys know the different steps that you guys need to take. The reason that I want you guys to at least do one practice is because this is the largest task on the test. So please remember that this task is worth about 30% of the whole entire test. So once again, if you guys do have any questions about this task or any of the tasks, or if you guys have any questions about the test in general, please make sure that you ask. Okay, so once again, if you see me in the halls, you can stop and ask, or you guys can send me a message through EDSB, or you guys can get a message passed to me through your teachers. So thank you again for your time and good luck on the test.